Hi again and welcome back to your Adobe instructional videos. So here we are. This is the steps, what to do next after you finish your collage. So when you are done with your collage, you'll want to see me to get some help printing. I prefer that you get my help printing because it is a very resource heavy activity and it's not part of our class standards, so I ask that you let me help you print. So when you are done, but while it's still open in Photoshop, give me a holler and we will print it for you. And the next step is then to prep for your line drawing step in the collage to vector. So how you do that is you open up your collage. Then in the layers panel, you go to the options, which are the little lines up next to layers, and you go down to flatten image. That's going to compress all of your layers into one background locked layer. So you don't want to save over your original. You always want to keep your original open layers so that you can go back for any reason ever and re-edit them or change them. So I want to immediately choose File and Save As. And if you're not already there, a lot of times Macs will keep you pointed to the folders, although sometimes with the GDIM drive it'll reset it. So I'm going to change this to Collage Line, and I already have another one, so I'm going to call this Collage Line 1, so now it's my first one. These are some other ones that I was working on. And remember not to delete the .psd, save it in a Photoshop format, it's absolutely fine for this, and hit save. So by doing a save as and changing the name, I am avoiding saving over that original one. So make sure you save your finished collage in its own document first, then we print it, then you do a save as after you flatten it so that you're not interfering with your files. And to prove it, see, I've got my original collage right there, and then I have my line one, which right now looks the same. The next thing you want to do is crop the entire collage with the crop tool. That will crop every layer, if there were layers, all the way down to the background, and that's exactly what you want. So when you go to crop, it will automatically give you these crop bars around the edge. If for some reason it seems to be pulling itself into some way, you can constrain, like if you know you want a square, you can do 1:1 or different ratios here. I usually just leave it so that I can choose which one I want. So now when I'm cropping, what I'm looking for is an area with some interesting shapes, some things that I can definitely imagine myself outlining. I really like this text in my collage, but I don't want to outline the text. There are ways that we can, with the type tool, add text later, but that just overcomplicates this project, so I'm going to avoid text. You don't have to draw everything that you crop it down to, so I could still crop it there and just not draw the text, or draw some of it if I wanted to. But I am looking for an area where I can see, I could outline a bunch of shapes. This has a lot of opacity in it. I'm not sure I want to deal with trying to outline that. Same thing with up there. So I'm looking at this corner over here. It's got, whoops, you can rotate when you're cropping if you want, but I'm going to Command Z and undo because I don't want. So now I get it lined up to right where I want to crop it. Oh, and I still have it in square, so I can go to original ratio so I can get it out of square. There we go. And actually, I want it just on ratio so I can control it. Interesting. After I messed with it, now it won't just let me be in control. Let's try that one. There we go. So that's the one. Width times height times resolution. No. There we go. That's the one that just lets you go wherever you want to crop it. So that's what you're looking for. So I think I'm going to crop it down here. I see some nice shapes that I can outline. I can get kind of the gist of the image without having to shade or fill in anything because you're just doing a line drawing. So once I get it to where I like it, I can either double click or hit the check mark, and now I have my cropped version. I'm going to hit Command 0 to zoom in on the screen. And then what you want to do is add a new layer. So you can come down to your layers palette and hit the new layer button, or come up to the options and choose new layer. I'm going to hit OK. So this layer 1 is where you can do your drawing. You can even slowly click in here and leave yourself a note. Draw here. Another way to make sure that you don't accidentally draw in your background is to unlock it as a background. So I'm going to click that padlock, and then I'm going to come up here to the different lock options. You can lock transparent pixels, you can lock your image pixels, you can lock the position of something, I don't even know what that means, or you can just lock the whole layer. And this is a great tool for being able to keep yourself from accidentally drawing. If you do any of your drawing embedded in this collage layer, it's really difficult to get it out. So before I lock it though, I see some dark spots that drawing with black, which is what you want to do with this, on top of these dark spots is going to be a little tricky. So with my background layer, I'm going to lower the opacity just a tiny bit, just so I can see a little bit of the checkerboard, but I can really still see my image. And now I'm going to padlock it. Switch to my Draw Here layer, move my layers out of the way, and now you're going to use just a couple simple tools to do this. You want to use the paintbrush, and then you can also use the eraser, which is down here a couple tools lower. But for the paintbrush, we don't want any of the mixer brush, has too much texture, color replacement, pencils too thin, so the regular brush is great. Up in your control panel you get options for different brushes, different sizes, all that good stuff. So for this we really want a basic general brush. You could go into here, and something like a hard round brush would be really good. A soft round is okay. When we turn these into vectors, they're going to get pretty hard edges anyway, so a nice hard round brush is a perfect one to start with. So you could go there, or you could pick one of these. I think I'm going to go for the hard round brush. You have sizes here, and you can also right click and get the contextual menu for sizes. I really advise that you use a variety of line weights and widths for this. You don't just want to go at it with the same line weight the whole time. So I'm going to start with one. Sure, why not? Click over here. And now I'm going to start to draw. Please make sure that you use your Wacom tablets when you are drawing. This is a great way to get comfortable with using them, and luckily one of the great things about converting this line drawing into a vector is it really cleans it up, as you'll see in a future video. And even if, like me, you're not so great drawing on a computer, this technique can help to smooth and stylize and refine your drawing a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to make sure you are on black and white, and you can just hit this little default colors right here, or a shortcut you can hit the D key. And so here I'll show you, if you're on any other color and you hit the D key, it'll go back to your default colors. And you want to switch to the paintbrush, and now I'm going to come in and I'm going to start outlining some of my major shapes. That is a pretty thin 1 pixel brush, so I'm going to go a little bit thicker. Here we go. And it's up to you what kind of line weight you want to use. You really do want to avoid really textured or brush looking lines. You want these nice clean lines like this. You can certainly zoom in. Be careful on our big screen. Sometimes you zoom in so far you're actually just covering a lot more real estate. So for the inside of the flower, I might want to turn it down a little bit and add some details. Notice I'm not filling in, but if I want to get a little bit of a thinner line, maybe not one, and outline some of the interesting shadows or highlights that I see, I could certainly do that. Because when you take this into Illustrator, you're going to be converting it to a vector and then using a paint bucket to color in the shapes. So these big shapes that are all connected to one another will then be colored the same. Okay, and I can add a little detail here, but notice I'm not going in and doing any shading. I'm just doing the basic outlines of the main shapes, and sometimes you'll have to invent some shapes too. So, I might come into these leaves, and it's pretty abstract because there's, quite a few levels between the original image and my collage, and so I might just have to invent where they are, and it's really okay. And like I said, you don't have to draw everything that's there. You can leave out some. Okay, so I have another one more prepared so you don't have to sit here watching me draw. And this is a good trick too. To be able to check your drawing and see how it's coming along, you use the visibility icon next to the background layer, and you can make it visible and invisible, so you can really start to see how your drawing is coming along and get it just how you want it. So for your drawings, obviously you would want to finish and get some more of the details. Like I said though, you wouldn't have to do every little everything, so you might want to do, if this was yours, maybe do a little bit here and there. But all of this background area, there are all kinds of colors and patterns and textures and cool things that you can add to it in Illustrator. So you don't necessarily have to fill in every area, every background. I have the main shapes that I like, the book and these flowers here. So I'm going to zoom in and do a couple more. Make sure I switch to my layer. I don't know why there's another layer there, but I can get rid of it. So I'm going to switch to my drawing layer. My background image layer is locked and opacity down, and so I can keep going. Looking for interesting shapes to outline and see. Sometimes I'm just going to make up a shape. I kind of like how these shapes all combine into one. All these flowers and leaves are sometimes hard to tell where one begins and the other ends, and that's okay, because when it's all said and done, this drawing that I'm doing is the only thing that's going to come with me. So as long as I'm happy with the drawing, that's all that matters. It should represent the original collage because it started from there, but it doesn't have to be only about the original collage. Okay, your collage is a reference, and your drawing is another art piece in itself. One little trick I'll show you, so that you don't have to draw even straight lines by hand, is a great little trick that Photoshop has for any of the brush or pencil tools, is you can draw a straight line by clicking between 2 points and holding Shift. So if I want to come in and draw some of the edges of these pages, I'm going to click to start the line. I'm going to come down to where I want the line to end. I'm going to hold down Shift, and then I'm going to click, and Photoshop will draw a straight line in between those 2 points. So if you have a lot of areas with straight lines, there is no reason why you would have to try to draw those straight. Now this one, see, has a curve, so I think what I'm going to do is make it a few shorter straight lines, and no one will ever know. So I'm just not holding down the mouse button, I'm holding down the Shift button the whole time, and I'm just going click, click. Same thing. So click with no Shift. Now I hold down Shift, click, still holding down Shift, click, still holding, click, click. And so this is a quick and easy way to be able to draw straight lines. There's also other tools. There's line tools and things that we'll get into later when we make our logos. But there. And again, I don't need every line. I just want some of them. So once you are done with your drawing, you'll want to make sure to clean it up. And so to do that, you're going to make that background layer invisible because that's not coming with us into Illustrator, so at this point it really doesn't matter. And then you want to zoom in, so the navigator's great for that. And you want to check for big gaps. Okay, some gaps don't matter, like these I didn't intend to draw all the way to the edge, and that's fine. But as I move around, and as you're zoomed way in, you can hold down the space bar, and that gives you the little hand tool and the ability to move around. So you don't have to have every pixel touching. Illustrator has a gap options that will close down some of them for us. But just to be safe, it's a good idea to go back through and just make sure that you're not leaving holes behind, because what'll happen is the paint will leak out of those holes and go all kinds of random places. So by zooming in with the drawing, with the collage off, and only focusing on your drawing, you're really able to see what you've got here and make sure that it's nice, clean drawing. You want to change your line widths to match that so you don't have weird little lines coming off of it. Okay, so just go around and clean it all up. And once it looks good, you'll want to save one more time the collage line. Hit save. If you save it with the background invisible, you don't need to do another step of deleting the background and saving it as collage line only, which is sometimes what we do, but you actually don't need to do that extra step. You can just make the background invisible, save it as a Photoshop document, and then you are ready to head over to Illustrator. I'll see you there.